Over 70% of the American people are against this war. Poll after poll shows that military veterans themselves, within the rank and file, are against this war. The Iraqi people are against this war. Last November, the American people sent a message to George W. Bush. And that message wasn't an escalation. It wasn't a continuance of the war. The message was, Mr. President, we've had it. We want this war drawn down, and we want it to end on your watch. This week, myself and fellow Iraq veterans went to visit with Republican members of Congress. And you know what? I'm not going to mention any names, but those members and their staff, when we talk to them, we find them in total agreement with us. But for some strange reason, they just won't vote right. So we're here today to send a message to those members of Congress. You either stand with the American people, the troops, or you can stand with President Bush. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for listening.
For a while, I believed that we had an obligation to stay in Iraq and clean up the mess we made, just as I was taught to do as a child. But I don't believe that anymore. The chaos shows no sign of abating, and we at home are hurting. We need our troops at home. Certainly their families need them at home. I'm a member of Military Families Speak Out, the families of all the U.S. troops who are serving longer deployments, multiple deployments, giving them less time at home, their families, less training to be prepared for their subsequent deployments. When my son, Marine Corporal Nick Shrokowski, was being deployed, he was told that the deployment would not last longer than 7 months because after that, combat effectiveness would decrease. So what happened? Remember when Governor Sebelius of Kansas didn't have National Guard troops to help during the floods because they had all been deployed to Iraq. We need the troops at home. We need to bring the troops home.
They were saying all the things you want to hear, that there's problems here, we need to do something different. And when it came down to votes, it became apparent that the oath that they took, in which for every vet here, you know that oath, and you took the same one. I do solemnly swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It doesn't say anything about fealty to George Bush. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't say anything about Republican Party. And so we are here to call them out. Talk's cheap. I want to see action. Now, what's one thing? Now, remember, there's a couple things to remember. 3,600 plus. That's the casualties right now in Iraq. 3,600 plus. And talk's cheap.
When people ask me, what can we do to help you? I tell them to vote. Write letters to your representatives, and we did, and it was vetoed. So this has been a political game, and both parties are to blame. So while our politicians are all compromising and hemming and hawing and wheeling and dealing, our brave young men and women are dying. And whether you voted for the war or not, each one of us as Americans is responsible for their safety and well-being. As voters, we put them in that situation, and it is our duty to get them out because the government is not. To our candidates who are running now and raising money and giving speeches, I don't want to hear about what you can do in 16 months. Show us what you've got now. Show us what you've got. And you get in there and make them cross those party lines and get us those votes and give us something to believe in and something to vote for. Because we simply cannot wait until 2008.